What's up, everyone? Back for another non-alcoholic beer review. And the beer I'm reviewing today, once again, comes from Industrial Arts Brewing. And they are out of Beacon, New York. And this is their Safety Glasses White. So this is a non-alcoholic Belgian-style Witbier. And on the label, it also says near beer brewed with coriander and orange peel. It comes in at less than 0.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is just over 7.5 months old, and I picked this one up at Halftime Beverage via halftimebeverage.com. So in the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that I grabbed, and I grabbed 20 beers in total, and this was the only non-alcoholic beer I grabbed because I have not seen this one here locally in the Buffalo, New York area. I'm sure it's available somewhere, but I just haven't seen it. So I thought I would give it a go. Now, I have reviewed one non-alcoholic beer from Industrial Arts, and it was their Safety Glasses IPA, and it was a weird one. It kind of tasted like sweet citrus black tea. Didn't taste bad or anything. It was just not exactly an IPA to my palate. A lot of people disagreed with me. And they also have a their Safety Glasses Pils, which is a non-alcoholic Pilsner. But I wanted to grab this one. I enjoy, if I'm going to have a non-alcoholic beer or something light, a Belgian-style Witbier is, pretty damn solid. And considering this is a non-alcoholic one, I'm here for it. I've had a couple non-alcoholic Belgian-style Witbiers. I did a Blue Moon, tasted like orange soda pop, and I did one from Untitled Art, which was pretty good. It was brewed with sweet orange peel. I don't know if it was like too style, but I remember enjoying that one. It was one of the first non-alcoholic beers that I reviewed. So anyway, let's hope this is good. Not ideal freshness, just over 7.5 months old. However, when I got the package, it was already like 5 to 5.5 months old, so it's been in my fridge for a couple months, but a style like this, we should be good to go. If this was an IPA, I probably wouldn't honestly review it because a bit too old. But anyway, let's give it a pour into the Allagash glass, because Allagash White is my favorite American brewed Belgian-style Witbier. So give this a nice pour here. That's looking beautiful, honestly, but I feel like the head is going to fizz away, which disappoints me to some degree. Let's hope that's not the case, but got a little dirty glass mafia going on here. Let's see. Yeah. So anyway, if you see this beer, it looks hazy. It looks cloudy. It looks like a Belgian-style Witbier. It looks like kind of a hazy IPA. It has that, milky, cloudy, murky kind of yellow-orange color. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, there's nothing getting through there. Good carbonation at the bottom. I think this has the etching that promotes the carbonation, aka the nucleation, but I'm not positive. It does have some kind of remnants on the side here, so I don't know if they're adding anything to this. This kind of looks like some IPAs I've had, like hazy IPAs, or like fruited sours where you get the pectin, but I mean, as far as like a Belgian-style Witbier goes, this looks to style as, appearance-wise. It really does. It plays the role, has about a half finger. It was about a finger and a half of this nice off-white, creamy-looking head. It now looks more soap sudsy and has dissipated to a thin film. So that's the only detriment. But again, this is a near beer, aka a non-alcoholic beer, not an actual beer. So sometimes you have weird things going on with like head retention and just the looks of beer and whatnot. Let's get a nose. Wow. So to me, this is really big citrus, like the orange is screaming off the top. There's even like a little bit of a lemony pop. The coriander's here for sure. There's a touch of like a yeasty thing going on. I wouldn't necessarily say it has like that Belgian yeast character that sometimes produces bubblegum or banana, but it has a little bit of that, maybe a very slight, it's more of like a grainy kind of just generic wheat scent. And then, and I've said this probably in half of the non-alcoholic beer reviews on my channel, it has just this weird, I don't want to call it an off aroma because it's not off, but it's very particular to a lot of the non-alcoholic beers that I've drank. It's just this characteristic that I can't pinpoint, but it reminds me of, hey, this is not really a normal beer. Not off-putting in the least, it's just has almost like a hay kind of nose to it too, almost like Saison-esque, like that wheat kind of hay, almost barnyard-esque funk, but not really a funk. It smells pretty good. It smells like it's going to be super refreshing, which is why I think a style like this works well for a non-alcoholic beer. It just kind of reminds you of like, having a glass of like lemonade or something, right? And in this case, maybe like a glass of like an orange juice mixed with something. I don't know. It smells pretty good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. I'll say if you like Belgian-style Witbiers or any kind of wheat beer, even like American wheat, with a little bit more of like a pop of like a citrus, a sweeter citrus character, this would do you right. Because the first thing I get on this was a nice like sweet kind of citrus, more in the realm of like an orange or tangerine, maybe even like a candied like orange peel. Buying this is like higher side of light. It is, you know, less than 0.5%. The one thing I've noticed about a lot of non-alcoholic beers is that the bodies just, they can't replicate them as well as a lot of other characteristics in the beer. The body and the mouthfeel usually are lacking, and the body here is thin. If, let's say, this was supposed to mimic like a 5% or a 5.5% Belgian-style Witbier, this is definitely thin for the body. The mouthfeel is nice. It has moderate carbonation, a smoothness to it, not really creamy, but it's not as good as a normal, you know, full alcohol Belgian-style Witbier, but it's not far off with the mouthfeel, but the body is lacking. So body lacking, mouthfeel, a nice flavor. This is pretty simplistic, front to back, sweet, orange slash like a tangerine, like a juiciness. Again, there maybe a touch of like a candied orange peel. There's a little bit like this underlying zesty lemon. There's also that kiss of that wheat slash hay profile I was getting in the nose, definitely has translated into the taste. And that's pretty much what I'm getting, is a sweet citrus, a little bit of that candied like orange peel, and that wheat hay character front to back. I don't know if they're using an actual Belgian yeast strain in here or how this is exactly brewed, but I'm not really getting a big pop of any kind of yeast esters. It's more of like that phenolic, like almost slightly peppery spice character, but there is a touch of coriander because it is brewed with coriander. Finish is semi-dry. I say semi full-on dry, absolutely zero bitterness to speak of, and you know the style dictates minimal bitterness for the most part. This doesn't really have any. It's more of that dryness. So this is pretty well balanced from a sweetness to dryness perspective, although I would like to see a little bit of bitterness here. Maybe even a touch of hop character. And I would like more of the yeast esters, like a little bit of like a bubblegum or a banana or something to kind of, you know, liven up the palate and make it a little bit more complex. But I'm not really down on this beer. Like, this isn't a bad representation of the Belgian Witbier style from an American brewery doing it as a non-alcoholic beer. This is definitely better than their IPA for me, without question. I could drink this pretty much anytime, but certainly in the spring and summer on a nice hot summer day, this would go down like water. Let's say I'm not drinking for whatever reason. I could drink 2 or 3 of these, maybe even an entire 6-pack, and not feel too bad about myself. Even with the calories, this is 70 calories per can. So if you take down an entire 6-pack, you're talking just over 400 calories, or the equivalent of like one hazy double IPA nowadays, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is I'd say this is pretty good for what it's supposed to be. One more sip and we'll lock in a rating. Like I said, it's less than 0.5%. You really can't tell alcohol. Yeah, I think now as I just took that sip, I'm getting a little bit of that tea character that I got in their IPA. I don't know if it's maybe the yeast they're using in here, maybe the water profile, whatever ingredients they're using. But it actually works better in here because I'm already getting that sweet citrus, a little bit of that like lemon. So a touch of like a tea character in here, not stylistically correct. At the same time, it's actually quite refreshing for this beer. I don't really want to see a tea character in an IPA, but for this style, like, I think it actually helps out a little bit and doesn't detract, so not too bad. Anyway, I'm going to pour in the rest of this, and then I'm just going to rate it right now. So I'm going to pour in the rest, and then I'll take a rating with all the goodies in here. But as you can see, look at that head. It's generating this head, right? But then it fizzes away, and I don't like that. It almost reminds me of like when you have heavily fruited sours with a bunch of fruit puree in them, or adjuncts in like a big imperial stout like coconut, where the oils kind of kill it. But I'm going to give this a pretty good rating, only because I think it's a pretty good alcoholic beer. That's how ratings work, Joe, you idiot. Anyway, Safety Glasses White from Industrial Arts. I am going to give this non-alcoholic beer a low 4 out of 5. I'll go 3.9 out of 5. I think that's a fair score for what I'm drinking. If I would say stylistically for, you know, a non-alcoholic Belgian-style Witbier, I'd go 4, maybe 4.1, a little bit better than my personal preference. That little tea note at the end is, you know, a little bit out of place, obviously. And then I would like a little bit more of the yeast esters coming to the forefront, the body being a, you know, something that they could improve upon as well. But I think this is really nice, especially for a non-alcoholic beer, and much better than their IPA. So I do dig this one quite a bit. All right, price point and availability. I paid $2.99 for that single can from Halftime Beverage. However, on their website, it's $15.30 a six-pack. Gotta be honest with you, that's a bit pricey for non-alcoholic beer. I know the cost to make non-alcoholic beer, but I've seen other breweries charge less than that. Some breweries like Athletic, I'll typically see their stuff in like the $12, $13 range, so 15 is a little bit more expensive. However, if you can't drink alcohol or you like non-alcoholic beers, I guess you probably pay that to have them in the fridge, especially if you're like a huge, let's say you loved Allagash White, right? You can't drink alcohol anymore, but you want something to kind of replicate that. You pick this up, you're probably not getting too upset over like, $2.50 a can or whatever, but it's a bit on the pricey side. And availability, I don't know with Industrial Arts. I don't know if they have a beer finder on their website. I know here in the Western New York area, more specifically Buffalo, we do get, their classics like Wrench and all that stuff. And I have seen the IPA and the Pils. I have not seen this, but I'm sure this is available here locally as well. But I do like Industrial Arts stuff, and I think I said this in the IPA review. I need to review some of their regular beer. I think Wrench is one of those New York State classic hazy beers that, like, when breweries in New York started brewing hazy beers and starting to pump them up, in the craze in like the mid 2010s. Wrench was one of those first beers that people really were like, oh man, you got to try this one out. I've had that beer so many times, I need to review it. It's been a while since I've had it, so I'll have to pick that up and review it early next year. I think that's the plan. And if I see the Pils at some point, maybe I'll pick it up for a non-alcoholic beer review. I do have one other non-alcoholic beer on hand, and I'm really looking forward to that one. So we'll try to get to that one before the end of the year, maybe early next. So if you've had this one before, post in the comment section, what did you think about it? Would you drink a non-alcoholic Belgian-style Witbier? If you have drank a non-alcoholic Belgian-style Witbier, what was it? And would you recommend it? Like I said, I've drank now 3. I think this is probably the most stylistically accurate. Maybe, I don't remember I gave the Industrial Arts a wit, but I think it was a pretty good score too. The Blue Moon was delicious, but it tasted like orange soda pop, so it was nowhere near what it should be. It didn't taste anything like regular Blue Moon, honestly, and I did it side by side with the regular Blue Moon, so this is pretty good. So if this is your jam, I totally understand. If you want to try it out, give it a go. I'd recommend it, but yeah, let me take a sip here with all the goodies and see if there's anything different here. Now, I mean, the one thing you can notice, even after not taking the sip for like 3-4 minutes and coming back, it has a lot of citrus. It's lemony. It's that sweet orange, sweet candied like orange peel. There's an orange/tangerine juice, and right there, I also just got like a little bit of a salinity too, like just a little bit of a saltiness there, kind of different. Anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. I appreciate everybody stopping by for another non-alcoholic beer review. I'll try to get another one of these out in the next month or so. That one that I have on hand, it's very old. It's over a year old, so I hope that one held up. Oh yeah, that's another thing I'll mention. Just over 7.5 months old. This held up pretty well. I don't know how I was drinking fresh, but I can't imagine it's like much better. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one out. To the next one. Cheers.